Louisiana beer reviews. Slackwater Brown Ale from Port Orleans Brewing. Well, this was introduced in 2017. It's brewed, it says brewed below sea level. Not exactly, because this part of New Orleans on Chapatula Street is above sea level. Anyway, there's a paddle wheel, there's a swamp or a marshland in the background here with an egret and some clouds, cattails. I guess that slack water is like stagnant water. 5.3% alcohol. IBUs unknown, not listed on the website. Now, the last beer I did from them had the taped on label, and this is the printed on label, so I don't know if they were just trying out different labels. You know, that the one with the adhesive is not as nice as the printed on, I think. I've never had this before, and this is the first video review for this beer in the world. Here at 8:05 a.m. Medium to thick, bone-colored head, ivory head, no more like beige, really. And a brown, tan, let's say burnt sienna appearance. Remember the old Crayola? Burnt sienna. Some lazy bubbles, lazy ascending bubbles. It's semi-transparent. I guess brown ales are making a comeback. For years they were looked down on for some reason. I remember back in 1996, Pete's Wicked Ale was like a big deal. People loved to talk about Pete's Wicked Ale, and it was very popular, and then it just disappeared. Then people were starting to disparage Newcastle, like around 2001, 2002. I thought that was strange, because I remember back in the 90s people would say, oh, Newcastle is so good. And then people started saying, Newcastle, that's junk. That's macro. Or people in England would say, that's a dead beer. And I'll say, what are they talking about? Anyway, I've never had this before. I bought it at Martin Wine Cellar. Mathern's also sells it. So the price was good for a single. Let's check it out. Ooh, nutty. Now, you know that Samuel Smith's Nut Brown Ale, that's like the great brown ale. Still picking up a little bit of that tallow menthol on this hand, so I want to get that menthol, tallow and menthol away. This hand is okay. I couldn't remember the name of it. I was trying to call it Top Hat. No. You don't want Top Hat from India. It's nutty, brown, sweet, brown bread. It's subtle, very subtle in the aroma. I like it though. Alright, taste. Now the Riverfront Lager, wasn't too keen on that. It was too rough around the edges. The Pale Ale. What's the name of their Pale Ale? It's all something to do with the city, Louisiana and all that. Oh well, doesn't matter. Just look up Port Orleans. They only list 3 beers. Oh, Royal Tea. I remember now, Royal Tea. It was like pale ale mixed with tea, and that was really great. I loved it. I loved it. Sweet, but a lot of tannin, a lot of nutshell, a lot of bitterness. This thing seems to have a lot more bitterness than you would expect for a brown ale, I have to say. I don't know, I think it's overly bitter. It needs to be dialed back on that, to me. I think it needs more sweetness and less bitterness. It's like a straightforward bitter, you know what I mean? Just like, bitter. Nut shell, like pecan shell. So it has that. It's like a nut brown ale to me. The mouth feels low medium. The finish is mostly dry. It's pretty easy going, 5.3. All right, well, you know, this is a new company and they probably have to work on some refinements and kind of smooth out the rough edges. Although some people like the rough edges. And they'll say everything does not have to be smooth. The roughness gives it character. And I understand that. What is happening? Okay, so, but still, all that being said, I do think it could be sweeter. A little more sweet, a little less on the roughness. It's like brown bread crust. You know, brown bread, I've said this many times. It's not super flavorful though. It has a long way to go to be a Newcastle brown ale, I'm going to tell you the truth. That's what, 4.6? It's sad that they stopped the Newcastle series. Like they had the Cabby and the Newcastle IPA and APA, a pale ale, English pale ale, I guess. And the Werewolf. I don't know why Heineken did that, why they stopped. Because that seemed like that was going to be a good series. They called it something like the Brewers Project. The Discovery Project, I think it was called, but it didn't develop into much. They just back to the regular old Newcastle. That Cabby, that black ale, whoa, that was good. Anyway, I'm not worrying about it. Peels was an interesting independent company. It got bought out, but I had bought this in Connecticut on Highway 1, U.S. Highway Route 1, right along the coast. 1996, me and my friend Paul, who used to join us on the Hangouts, he still calls me. I'm going to call him this morning. But I noticed on this one it says Premium Draft Style. It doesn't say the beer is draft. Draft Style. Store in a cool place. Stroh's Brewing Company. Oh, Peel's Brewing Company. Excuse me, Peel Brothers. Well, Detroit, that's Stroh's. This is back when it was under Stroh's Brewing of Detroit. And then they got bought out by Pabst in 96, so now it's a Pabst brand. But it's one of those hidden brands. They don't list it on their portfolio, but it does exist. And then I bought the tall cans in 2010 in Trevose, Pennsylvania. And I drank them, and then a few months later I started doing video reviews. So I didn't write a video review. There might be a written review. There's probably a written review for it from me on Rate Beer and Beer Advocate. Now here's Peel's Real Draft Premium Beer. Non-pasteurized draft beer. Needs no refrigeration until ready to use. So this was an actual Allentown, Pennsylvania. Oh, they made it down in Allentown. This is back when it was real draft. They call it the keg can. I bought this at a collector's show, like a flea market. They must have had some kind of problems with packaged draft beers though, because that disappeared and then it didn't come back till 1985 with Miller High Life Genuine Draft, right? Cold filtered. So there's some kind of problem with them. They must have not tasted good. Peel's Light. This does not exist anymore, people. Light. A classic light beer brewed in the style of the renowned light beer of Pilsen, Czechoslovakia. Unique for its balance of exquisite lightness and delicious, full flavor. Yeah, I don't know about all that. Maybe. Can't say, never had it. Alright, how will this ale, how will I rate it? It's getting a little better as it warms, but not a whole lot better. It's like 78, C+. Like it's almost good. And I hate to say that, but I'm not a homer. I'm not going to just say something's great because it's from this state. I don't do that. So it's high average, and that's not much of a recommendation. Here I have the Underwood corned beef. Now in an earlier video I said potted meat, but it's corned beef. And I cut up the red onions on these saltines, and I put some Limburger cheese and Louisiana brand hot sauce on it. So you know, the Limburger cheese has very strange flavors and even more strange aromas. If you let it set out for a while, it gets soft. It's kind of buttery soft. Out the fridge, it's hard. It's rubbery, but it softens up. But it's very pungent. But I would recommend trying it. I mean, they won't give it a chance. Now, my daughter tried it, and she hated it, and she was telling me, why? I'm like, why did I get her to try that? So she'll never do it again. So, highly recommended. Underwood does a good job. I think they're owned by B&G Foods. I'm going to have to do some research on Underwood. Do some more exploration of their canned meat. Y'all got to keep on trying now. Port Orleans. Your lager was substandard. Your brown ale is substandard. Your tea, pale ale, was really good. So, I know there's a bunch of other stuff they make, but it's just not sold in stores yet. You got to go to the brewery and get it, or you can maybe find it at places on draft. But anyway, hey, you know, it is what it is. And what it is a 78 out of 100. Y'all come on down to Southeastern Louisiana. Thanks for watching this video production.